Good morning. It's Monday morning. I hope you had a beautiful weekend. I did. It's a little bit rainy and it's getting cold, but that's the way it is. Let me know in the chat if you are watching live or watching the replay. Today, this morning, as a contemplation, as a way of pausing, I would like to discuss, have a reflection on whether your thoughts and feelings are actually yours. With the work that I do with mainly women, I work with what we call the superconscious. So it's like the next level. We've got our conscious, we've got our unconscious, and we've got our superconscious. So our superconscious is another way of saying higher self, divine wisdom. It's actually a field of all information, right? And this is where information is stored from your family history, as well as from your own pre-verbal information, right? So we go along in life as adults thinking we're in control of who we are and our thoughts and our feelings and our belief systems. And often I find we actually don't question that. We question a lot of stuff outside ourselves and, politics. We've just had an election here in Australia. The weather and climate change and, who's the most, amazing person in the planet at the moment, and all those things. And we often neglect that internal process of discovering more and more of who we are. And way back in history, one of those, when you're on a spiritual quest or you're on a personal, development process, it's who we truly are inside that is who we should be really looking at. Know thyself, as they say. Because our beliefs and our thoughts, we think are ours, but actually are they? Because as adults, we are often running this cycle of old information from our childhood, before we were pre-verbal. So we were in this place of being this little vulnerable being, and we've got to survive, right? As a human, we're an animal, so we're in this survival mode, as with all animals. And so we have to learn quick what we need to do to survive, what we need to do to feel appreciated and validated and loved and kept safe and nurtured and warm and all of those things. And what are the actions that we take that can cause that survival to be in concern and fear and worry, right? And all of those things that can stop us from surviving in our subconscious. And so our subconscious creates patterns, and it processes information and locks it in, right? And it stays safe there. If I do this, I will stay safe in my family. If I do that, I'm not safe in my family. And so I'm not safe in the world. So this is what I choose to do. I don't know if anyone's ever heard, or I've said to you before, in a family of thieves, it's the person that doesn't steal that is ridiculed and his survival or her survival is questioned, right, in the family, because in the family of thieves, this is the way we behave. So that's an extreme, to give you an example, right? And so here we go, living our lives and finding things, you know, our conscious or our self-conscious, the part of us that's being now and making judgments and discerning things, that's our thoughts. It wants to strive to create more and better and self-develop and create and all of these things. And so you may be, you know, at work and you're wanting to be promoted. You might own your own business and you can't get past a particular glass ceiling on your finances. You may be in toxic relationships and you find yourself going from one to the other and you just can't switch into another level where you're not attracting those, you know, narcissistic energies or those aggressive energies anymore, and you find yourself in a place. Some people find themselves, they can't be without a partner, right? So they just continuously have to, they don't want to be alone, right? And so they find themselves in that place of constantly attracting the wrong type of man or woman. You might find that your relationships or your health may be, you know, you may find yourself with a disease at the moment or some sort of, you know, damage to the body, and you just can't get past it, you know, like it's something that's continuous, right? And a lot of people see some of this stuff and go, well, it's genetic. My mum had it, my dad had it, or, you know, my great-grandmother had it, or whatever. And so we find ourselves with these conditions, and our conscious really wants to strive to get past that. And especially at the moment in society, the way life is in society, is that our level of consciousness as a collective is in this place of movement forward, in growth, in exploration of self, and raising the vibration of the individual so that the collective will raise. And we're at this pivotal point where we can shift who we are as a collective and move into a higher place. You know, before there was a lot of unconsciousness, and now there's a lot of people waking up to the opportunity and the ability to create for themselves, you know, and they're discovering these things, you know, and looking internally. So our unconscious is the part of us that's in repetition, right? And that was pre-verbal, so from 0 to 7, you know, 0 to 3, and actually from the studies that I have done, it's the last quarter of the pregnancy that actually the unconscious sort of starts forming. And so all of these things, as I was saying before, this is where our feelings are stored and locked in. And if I do this, this is how I feel. If I do this, this is how I feel, and it's locked in, right? However, at the same time, you have this other aspect of what, you know, epigenetics is studying. And for those that are new to epigenetics and I just did a retreat. I was a guest speaker at a retreat on the weekend, and I mentioned epigenetics, and not many people even knew what it was, right? So epigenetics is a study of above the genes. Epi means above, so not necessarily inside the genes, but what they're studying is they've discovered that emotions and feelings and beliefs can be locked into our genetic pathways that then cause our frequency to behave. So it's sort of like a collective unconsciousness. Just thought of that myself, right? A collective unconsciousness within our genetic pathways from previous family history. So there's an ongoing study. They've got lots of different studies that they're doing, but the one that's the most sort of famous is the ongoing study they're doing with Holocaust survivors. And they're discovering that, you know, horrific conditions that these people went through and survived. However, those, you know, traumas get locked into their genes, and when you have a child, that child's child, if you're a woman, that child's child is actually in your system. So when I had my daughter, all of the eggs that she's carrying were created at the same time. So my grandchildren were already in my belly when I had my kids, right? And so that information can get locked in of trauma. So they're discovering that the Nazi, or sorry, the Holocaust victims or survivors, generations that have passed with no, healthy environments, healthy upbringings, no necessarily traumatic experiences, still having major issues with things like, confined spaces, loud noises, survival aspects of themselves, terror, PTSD, for no particular reason, because there's been no trauma that's been historically, recorded within their own personal life. And so these pathways are within us that are causing challenges for us to move forward in our own life. So if you're, I want you to have a think about that. I mean, not many people know much about their family history, right? It's not something that that sort of legacy has been hasn't been as important as it used to be. I know that I only knew a little bit about my grandmother and my grandfather. Well, actually not much about the father or the male side at all, but the women in my line, it only went to my grandmother, and all I knew about her mother was that I was named after her, right? And that she was a stoic woman. That's all I knew. And so how many generations, is there memories within your family of bankruptcy, or just thinking of the last couple of generations, if you're here in Australia, the last couple of generations would have gone through recessions, like going back a bit further, depressions, and you go back even further, there's famine and there's disease and there's all of these things that were survival modes for our subconscious, and then are locked into what I call like the information field of the superconscious, and we're just like this little tiny aspect of that. But that information then gets transferred into us as little children, and then we play it out. We play out this fear, or even patterns of non-fear. How many times have you heard a woman go, "Oh my gosh, it just sounded like my mother"? Or men doing the same, feeling like I have worked with men that have got an alcohol problem, and it's been a generational history of alcohol addiction in their masculine line, and because it's okay, it was normal to do that. Or pornography, right? It was normal, and the men actually, you know, it was a normal process of living. This is the way we relieve ourselves. This is the way we release stress out of our body, because we're not emotionally expressive, and so this is the way we do it, right? Causing a lot of challenges with men these days, because men are becoming more expressive and more understanding of their own emotional intelligence, and having to break those challenges of not being able to express that, and, you know, go grab something instead to satisfy externally, to and women as well, right? It's a human thing. So I'd love for you to reflect. What are some of the challenges that you're finding in your life, in the present, in your current reality? Whether that be in your health, in your relationships, in your profession, your career, like your business. And are these things actually yours? Are these beliefs and thoughts and feelings actually aspects of you, or are they locked into your generational history through the genetic pathway? And when you think about that, right, isn't that a blowout? Because you go, well, actually, strip all that down. Who am I? What is my potential without all of this baggage from my family line? What have I got the opportunity to rise above and rise into and create, if those things were not being held on to me through my own, you know, right, genetics, right down into the cells of the body? It's really interesting process when you can delve in and release those things, because at the superconscious level we are just a drop in the ocean, right? But that drop has the whole ocean in it. And so when we go to that level of the superconscious, the field of all information, that field has no duality. We live here in conscious and unconscious, where there's this pendulum swing, where, you know, if you've got everything's trying to find balance, and that's in the subconscious, right? Seeking balance. It's a primal thing. We're always seeking balance. And to give you an example, if I gave you some hot soup, I'd say, you know, when you have hot soup, you go, well, you know, eat it quickly before it cools down, right? So it doesn't get cold. But if I gave you an ice cream, you'd say, eat it quickly before it melts, because everything's seeking balance, right? So our subconscious is trying to, we've got this pendulum down here where we're always trying to seek balance. What is the pattern that I have pre-verbal that kept me in survival? Even if that pattern is uncomfortable for us, we tend to gravitate to that because it's kept us safe before. It's safe to withdraw in a relationship. It's safe to be the victim, right? It's safe to make excuses of why I did this because this person did that to me, and I don't have to look deeper to discover why did I actually do that, what were the sequence of events, and take ownership of them. So the superconscious is actually a field of all information where those codings came from, and there's no duality there. It's those codes don't have to exist. We can actually change them. We can shift that genetic pathway and clear it, right? And bring in different aspects, because the field is the field for all of us, and we can change and choose what it is that we would like to create instead. And that's where we're in consciousness at the moment, because we have the opportunity and the ability at this level of consciousness as human beings to create and to wake up to the very aspect of us that is a creator, because at that level we are creators. It's just clearing all of that stuff in our current reality so we can move forward to choose to create. And unfortunately, we're in this timeline at the moment, or this time-space reality, where the personal development industry has got us sticking in the subconscious and trying to work out those patterns. We don't need to work them out. When we're constantly in what's my problems, what's my traumas, what's my challenges, and going into that, we're locking it back in and we're re-traumatizing the body. The subconscious goes, yes, 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 stay here, this is where we're safe. And it does take, we can, shift that. It just takes a long time when we do it from going into the subconscious and having to consciously shift that and, use affirmations and mantras and be aware consciously. Wouldn't you rather just go, hey, this is what I choose to create, I'm going for it, I'm going to move forward into this. In my current reality, this is some of the stuff going on, and let's shift it from where it actually came from and originated from in the first place, shift those codes and bring them into our orientation, our creative orientation instead, right? So much easier. I know from personal experience that it's so much easier. And one of the things that I find challenging, or being on the leading edge of this new awareness, is, I went to an event on the weekend, and I was a guest speaker at the event, and I had a lady say to me afterwards, I'd love to come and have a session with you. And of course she knows no different, because have a session, that's the way we've been conditioned. I've got a challenge, let's have a one-off session and check it out. However, to really step into our creative orientation takes a new focus, and we've been conditioned for however long in human history, let alone, I'm 50 years old, right? 50 years of being orientated towards my subconscious patterns and my preconceived ideas from a genetic thing. I've done a lot of work on myself, and a lot of it has shifted. But gee, when this stuff came in, it was amazing how quickly you orientate to the creative aspect of yourself instead. And it's a relearning. It's having to relearn something that is very different to what the world has created. So it's having to have a new orientation, a new way of being, so that we can step forward and take ownership and actually live our destiny. Like, live what we're here for, because most of us, I'd say 95%, I don't know, I'm just making that up. that's how statistics work. Most of the time, most of us are living in this mundane, walking wounded, sleepwalking our lives, as we go along, and it's not what we were here for. We're here to be creative beings. We're here to be women of light. We're here to raise the status quo. We're here to raise the vibration of the planet. We're here to make a difference. And whatever that aspect of you is, like that passion, when you heard me say that, something came in for you, right? It might have been your business. It might have been the way you're raising your children. It might have been, speaking up to someone that's treating you less than. Whatever it was, that's your destiny. And it's us that needs to choose that. Is us that needs to make that statement and to be the creative force in our lives and wake up to who we truly are. So that's what my mission is to wake up more and more women to their light and to actually live their potential, and to support their men to do that as well, right? Because the men need us. So that's me. I would love to know if you got value from that, what your reflections were. Think about that over the week, and just ponder on what it is, some of the things, some of the thoughts, and ask yourself, is that my thought? Is this something from my childhood? Or is it passed down from family generations? And how is it that I choose to step forward? If you're interested, get in contact with me. We can support you to shift it way quicker than doing it manually. It's a good way of putting it. Enjoy your day, enjoy your week, and I'll catch you next week. See ya.